from the video?
Not really. You are looking slightly different. Like just the way you're sitting, your shoulders are a little, and
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
because of the
The armrest.
yeah. Okay, the banner's brand. I'm just trying to get rid of this so we can say, well, how you doing today, John?
Good. How are you, Craig?
Good. I'm just gonna pull out my document here, and then we're gonna get started because we got a couple of things to talk about, and then
Are we
yeah, we'll
starting
see what's going on.
with the Surface laptops, or are we going to
Yeah,
dive into?
I'll start with the intro, and then we'll start with
Okay.
the Surface laptops that you wanna. Welcome back to Futuretech, your weekly source for the latest in tech and innovation. I'm the startup coach, and always I'm joined by my co-host John Irwin. What's going
Hey,
on,
Craig.
John?
Not much. Exciting day today for those listening live. We've got Startup Drinks TO tonight, Startup Investor Drinks, and then I am excited. I've got a meeting with an executive who was on the Commodore 64 way back in the day. So kind of excited to geek out.
Yeah, I think I owe him a phone call.
Okay.
But
he might come
anyway,
tonight. So
that'd be great. I owe him a phone call or an email from last time, and it's been a while, so I behind on things. So
okay.
You're really excited about these new Snapdragon processors in the Microsoft Surface laptops. You know, before you were excited about the M3, and then Apple dropped the M3 like a hot potato within a couple of months for a cheaper process in the M4, but a better processor with the Neuralink AI side of not Neuralink, but the AI side of stuff. So tell us about the Snapdragon and these new Windows Surface PCs, because you said I'm not getting a Mac anymore. I'm getting one of these.
Point of clarification: I was excited about the M1. I'm not as excited about the M2 and M3. I don't feel like they're huge innovations on the M1. I feel like the M1 was an amazing innovation. M2 and M3 are just them trying to sell more laptops by slowly small iterations. But yeah, so and so I hate Apple, like as far as most Apple devices. But the only thing that I absolutely love is the MacBook Pro. I love the MacBook Pro because you get performance and battery life out of it, and it lasts for years. Like I still have my 2012 MacBook Pro Retina that I could still use daily, but I've got this new M1 Max, and I love it because they last. It works, and that's so I got to give them Mac OS as a great operating system. Now, the thing is I haven't really used fully a Windows laptop since Windows 7, maybe 9. And so the cool thing about these new laptops, obviously they're running new Windows, but they're running on an ARM processor, which is a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. And Qualcomm designed specifically for laptops, uses the ARM-based architecture. And the ARM-based architecture is known for the power efficiency, but also designed to offer high performance. The thing is what Qualcomm is saying is that they can match your. So the other thing is with the efficiency, it allows them to last significantly on the battery. They also, the cool thing, which is better than the MacBook Pro, is they contain an integrated 5G modem. And also, I think an advanced AI engine for on-device tasks, so like running Microsoft Copilot and things like that. So it's really cool. Windows 11 looks interesting as well. Haven't really messed around with it. So we're talking a 13.8 inch, a 15-inch high-resolution touchscreen, which the MacBook Pros don't have. It's the only thing I wish they had, because when I had my Lenovo, I did like being able to use the touchscreen every now and then. So yeah, really interesting. We haven't seen any benchmarks yet, I don't think, unless you have, but you're kind of skeptical about these, aren't you? Or what are your thoughts?
I think the processor looks great. I've seen some of the benchmarks, but it's really hard to compare because they're comparing against the iPad, the one processor, and the M4 iPad processor, and the M4 beats it in some cases, but then the Snapdragon beats it in other cases. So they feel fairly even in some of the areas, but it depends on what tests you're running.
Yeah.
So my big thing is you can like or dislike any one of these companies, Apple or Microsoft or even Google. But once you're kind of in their ecosystem, you're in their ecosystem. You have all your apps and the stuff you've purchased on one platform that's not necessarily switched to another. And if you switch, say you've got an Apple phone and you switch to a Windows laptop, they don't work together as much as they used to. So all those things. So the reason I said you were excited about the M3 is you saw my 15-inch M3 Air laptop at the event, and you're like, "Oh, this is the one I want to get." And then, like 2 days later, you said, "Oh, I forget that. I want to get the Surface, the new." That's why I said that. But here's my issue: it's Windows and it's Microsoft. And the problem, I've seen a bunch of announcements, and the biggest issue I got right now is this latest one with recall. Have you seen this? So they're taking, you buy one of those, it's going to take a snapshot of your screen every 3 seconds. It records every single thing you do.
Oh yeah.
It encrypts it and puts it on your, it's like, oh, it records all the the things you have and transcribes it and records everything. Like if you're having a video call or any of your other stuff, like this becomes a little like, okay, and it's all done by that AI chipset enabled by that. So your space and your CPU is going to be doing all this stuff in the background that you don't care about, or maybe you do, maybe you want it. It's not like Time Machine where it's at one point in time, it's just taking your files and, you know, setting them to where they are. It's literally taking snapshots of your screens.
Yeah. That's scary. I'm sure you can turn that off, though. I'm sure you can turn off most of the features. But again, how much are they turned off when you actually turn them off, right? Like, is it just that you're not able to track it and they're still tracking you in the background?
Yeah, and anybody who works on anybody,
you know what I mean?
Anybody who works on anybody else's machine, you know, anybody who does computer tech support, you know, everything's remote now. So now if I'm remotely supporting you, I'm screen capturing all your client information on my laptop that has nothing to do with your company. You know, this becomes a whole, you know, it's bigger than you think. That's just one thing. And they say, you know, like everything else, it's 100 million% unhackable and no one will ever get access to it and whatever. And you know very well they can unencrypt it and they can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's still cool because so you can do you can connect to cellular. The battery life lasts for almost a full 24 hours. Which is cool. But again, it's a Windows laptop. And this is my biggest qualm about Windows is that it gets bogged down so quickly. You've got to do so much maintenance on it compared to the Mac, where I run one program, which is Clean My Mac, which I love. And it takes care of everything. I don't even need to run that though. It's just the Mac just runs smoothly, the Mac OS. So, but cool that this is cool Surface technology.
Absolutely. And we'll have to take a look at your Surface laptop when you get one.
Yeah, if I get one. Yeah.
All right. I want to jump on to this first topic, which is all about creating pretty much limitless free energy through this column drag.
Column drag, yeah. Let's talk about this. So so there's just some things to talk about. We're talking about nanotechnology. So nanoscale devices use column drag between flowing salt ions and charges in the device to produce electricity. So we're talking about a nano generator, by the way, that harnesses saltwater gradients for energy. So the way it works is it works by creating a voltage when the electric forces cause charges to flow from one side to the other as ions pass through a narrow channel. That's how things work. Experiments are showing that the effect occurs with both positive and negative ion flows. and with either attractive or repulsive forces between ions and device charges. So there's an amplification effect as the momentum of the heavier ion is transferred to the lighter electrons, which boosts the electrical output. So the design is versatile because it doesn't depend on specific materials or channel shapes. So the key is to ensure a close interaction between the ions and charges. So if you put these arrays, or if you put these nano generators into arrays, you can match or exceed the power density of solar cells, which provides a promising new method of generating clean, renewable energy from salt water, such as where rivers meet the sea kind of thing. So in addition to coastal energy production, there are possibilities for applications in fields like biomedical sensors or nanofluidic devices. The thing is it's a simple, adaptable technology, which makes it appealing for scaling up. But obviously, further research is needed to optimize multi-device configurations and things like that. But the bottom line is, this nanotech innovation could unlock an abundant new source of blue energy along coastlines worldwide, which harnesses saltwater gradients, and hopefully maybe surpass solar in some areas.
So you mentioned a new term. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I just wanted to say the researchers, what they were doing, the way this happened was they were initially just exploring whether nanoscale semiconductor devices could extract energy from ion flows. So these results pretty much exceeded expectations.
So you mentioned a new word, blue energy. What's the difference between blue energy and green energy?
Water. Using water. Yeah.
So how much electricity, how efficient is the energy conversion process? If we set this up at a mouth of a river where fresh water meets salt water, are we getting a trickle we can charge your iPhone, or are we running cities?
Yeah, so based on the fact that the article states that the researchers believe that the arrays could match or exceed power density of solar cells, it suggests that there's reasonably high efficiency. Just to give you an idea, solar panels tend to operate around 15 to 20% efficiency in converting sunlight to usable electricity, which provides a rough benchmark to compare to. But in the article, it didn't really provide any specific numbers for what percentage of the potential energy in the saltwater gradient that's converted to electrical energy. But there's going to be different factors that come into play here, like salt concentration difference, flow rates, precise device geometry. That's all going to affect how much potential energy can be tapped. So again, there's going to be a lot of third-party testing that's going to need to quantify end-to-end efficiency once the prototypes are further along. But in the article itself, it's pretty optimistic about the efficiency prospects. But again, I think it's too early to tell what the exact percentages of potential energy could be. So we'll have to see, though.
A lot of times we go into blind into some of these things, not understanding the environmental impacts of. Do we understand, the environmental, what this might do to marine life or coastal ecosystems?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I tried to figure it out. I tried to read beyond this article, but because it's a newer nanotechnology, it's not fully characterized. Some initial considerations. The nanoscale size means the devices themselves take up very little physical space in the water, so it minimizes habitat disruption, which is really good. But little is known yet with the effects of the electric fields and ion flows on marine organisms. So they're going to have to do some lab testing there. But the other thing too to think about is the materials that they're going to use to manufacture the devices, such as semiconductors, things like that, could leach chemicals into the water. So toxicity studies are going to need it. And then large scale installations obviously are going to affect migratory patterns, habitats, or other ecosystem functions. So any changes into the water, into the ecosystem itself, is going to affect it. If you're integrating it on a larger scale. But if we're talking nanoscale, potentially there's very little, but there's also things like toxicity and different things, or electric fields and things like that. So yeah.
So
there's potential.
Could this technology be used in, say, desalination to also boost freshwater supplies? Does it actually do anything with the salt, the flow, or just?
Absolutely. Yeah, the nanotech that harnesses the saltwater gradients for energy could potentially also be used for desalination to increase freshwater supplies. So here's a few ways that it could work based on what I've read. There's the basic process creates an ion flow through the nanoscale channels. So adjusting the device design and materials could allow selective filtration of salt ions, which would then leave behind fresh water. The other thing is the energy generated from the salt gradient could be used to power an integrated desalination component, like a reverse osmosis membrane. And then the other thing too is we're still getting into nanoscale devices and things like that. So, as nanoscale materials and research advances, purpose-built nanopores, again, we're getting into nano again, could potentially sort and separate salt ions from water at very low energy costs. So there's a lot of things. Like the devices could be with the devices being deployed along coastlines, it could create drinking water through desalination while also generating power. And then you could also integrate it with existing large-scale desalination plants, which could provide on-site energy production at a lower operating costs. And yeah, there's the scalability, efficiency, and potential of harnessing ion flows at the nanoscale could make this a disruptive technology for desalination. Because right now, as you know, probably, there really isn't an efficient way to desalinate water. Or maybe I'm wrong. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had cough earlier and I forgot to turn it off. I don't think there's an efficient way, but I haven't actually looked up desalination in a few years. They like we're looking at this stuff. There's easily technologies that can sneak by us that we just haven't seen. But this is great. Like, I love this. How far along are they in the process? They've done this testing. Like, are they, anywhere closer to deploying this anywhere?
Yeah, so spoiler alert, I didn't say this at the beginning, but the technology is still in the simulation and concept phase. So it's not been physically built and tested yet. So researchers are going to need to fabricate working prototypes and optimize design for efficiency, durability, manufacturability, etc. Proof of concept stage, maybe 2 to 3 years if everything goes well. After initial prototypes, the first real world pilots may happen maybe in the next 5 years. And they're going to be small scale deployments to test performance and environmental impacts in coastal environments. And then assuming that successful pilots with reliable energy generation and minimal ecological risks, commercialization could begin in the next 8 to 10 years. But the nano fabrication techniques required to mass produce the devices at an affordable cost, those are still under development. So that needs to advance. The manufacturing scale may delay the widespread availability of this. The other thing too is regulatory approval, permitting, policies, infrastructure, connections, all that sort of stuff. That's going to really influence the pace. All this stuff is going to influence the pace. But conservative estimates, let's say fully into the market, 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, and you're talking about,
but again, if there's breakthroughs, go ahead. Sorry.
Do we see it getting more efficient than the current solar?
I think so. I think even in but again, they're doing simulations which are like perfect scenarios kind of thing. So maybe they don't, unless there is a breakthrough or advancement in nanotechnology. But I'm thinking
this looks very. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm thinking at the current state of technology, no.
Fair enough. I like what we're doing here, seeing using different things like the ocean, the flows in the ocean, salt in the ocean. What we looked at a few weeks ago, where we were talking about from the vacuum of space, creating energy. This is really cool stuff, and long term, it looks like there's going to be some very interesting energy solutions for us.
Yeah, and way less invasive than those wave generators, or the whatever they're called, the current generators. You know, the things they deploy in the ocean, and when a wave comes, it goes up and down, and then it generates electricity.
Yeah. And the more efficient we can get at this stuff, the better. Any final words before we jump to the next one?
No, this is I love clean tech like this. I love things, especially if they can adapt it to desalination processes, because that's a huge problem, especially in third world countries, and getting access to fresh water and things like that. So yeah, and going forward.
So we are now using AI to predict human behavior with uncanny accuracy. And is this not a little scary?
It is, and just think about these new Surface laptops that are tracking your every movement. That's going to be potentially used to train this and anonymize the data, right? So, and become even more accurate. But so, yeah, they've developed the model that they've developed aims to capture suboptimal human decision making by inferring our inference budgets. Time spent deliberating. So it assumes rationality is bounded by constraints. So the way it works is by aligning observed behaviors with the outputs of an optimal problem-solving algorithm at various deliberation depths, which reveals how much planning a person did. The research itself, based on the insight that planning time correlates with problem difficulty and agent competence. So more thinking indicates tougher problems or smarter agents. I don't know if I agree with that, but they came up with something very accurate. By predicting planning depth on new tasks from past data, the model can forecast how a person will behave in a given situation. The tests that they ran show promising accuracy at predicting goals from navigation routes and chess moves from past games by modeling limited reasoning. So again, this isn't validated yet, but if it's validated further, the technique could allow some AI assistants to understand and adapt to our quirks, becoming more collaborative. So it may aid human AI teaming by alerting systems when we're likely to make mistakes so they can guide us more effectively. Precogs, anyone? So challenges obviously remain validating the model across more domains and ensuring inferences are interpretable. Again, research is very, very, very preliminary. So the core assumption of the model itself is that limitations on rationality stem primarily from constraints rather than inherent logic, which is interesting. It views suboptimal behavior as rooted in our finite capacity for deliberation. So what they plan to do is apply the approach to other areas like reinforcement learning, where trial and error experience over time influences an agent's planning process and policy. So yeah, by accepting our lapses from optimal reasoning, this AI has potential to enable much smoother human-machine collaboration, but also a lot more scary things.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and I saw up there it says it helps if it has a base model, a human model, because of our inefficiencies. It helps have a good model of human behavior to start with, but the humans tend to behave suboptimally when making decisions. I would imagine, like, we're not robots. We can go, oh, am I going to make coffee? Am I going to put on my stuff?
We make mistakes.
Yeah. And secondly, like, we, in general, most of us, do the 80 to 90%, if not more, of the same stuff every day. So you talk about, I can navigate where you're going. Oh, geez, Google Maps without AI can, predict where I'm going 60, 70, 80% of the time, because it pops up, hey, it's 8 a.m. I think you want to go here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the thing is, I think Waze automatically take into account your previous trips, your speed, and all that sort of stuff. So that, like, if we were at the same place and we were in the same destination, my time would be different than your time.
Of course.
Which is interesting.
Well, I often sit around and I
Because
do this with. If you open up the weather app on an Apple phone, with someone sitting beside you, get them to do it. Oftentimes, you'll get different temperatures to what it is right now. Like I do this with my roommate all the time. It's like, okay, it's telling me we're in the exact same location,
Really?
using the exact same phone, exact same app, and you're telling me it's a degree or two different than what it's telling me. You know, so whatever. It might be pulling from a different weather station for some reason, might be doing whatever. It's just like so it's that kind of stuff doesn't like give me a different route versus you. Like, when you leave the house, you're going to Toronto or you're going to a coffee shop or you're going to, the bar that you normally go to or the gym that you normally go to. Like there's only a handful of places that people normally go to on a regular day. And then once or twice a week, they go to someplace new, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true.
We are creatures of habit.
But
so
like, and the other thing too is, what's that?
Wouldn't take long to map us out. We're creatures of a habit. Like this doesn't seem predicting human behavior doesn't seem to be all that hard. Like you're not talking about how a human will respond in a difficult emotional situation. You're talking about where you're going today.
Yeah. It's an interesting point. So it's going to see how much better they can get, and by better I mean, what does that mean? What does better mean? Like, is it going to be like, okay, based on previous behavior, you're wasting an hour of time doing this, and this, so you might want to do this kind of thing? I don't know.
So we'll have to see. I'm curious about this significantly. So how does a model account for differences in individual personalities and thinking styles? Like what I do is completely different than what you do. And it's completely different than, say, what my business partner does, like on a daily routine. He works from home. Most of the time I work from home, but I have events. I also usually work from the coffee shop all day. There's other people drive to work, other people do different things, and not only that, but different quirky habits. So, some people go to the gym, some people do this, and personality wise, how does it account for that?
So I think it seems to operate at the level of an individual person. So I think it's more about training data. So they have it at a base level, and then it's like, okay, so take in this training data of this person and start looking at specific things. And so it models their specific behavioral patterns rather than generalizing across people. So the model customizes to an individual by analyzing traces of the past behavior to infer their typical inference budget. So I guess it does appear to tune itself to capture an individual's unique decision-making style rather than making broad assumptions. But that being said, the modeling may be more granular for some facets, like typical deliberation time, and less sensitive to more nuanced personality factors. But the researchers did note that it could be improved by incorporating specific cognitive biases, like maybe ADHD, and emotional dynamics beyond just reasoning time. So, it's going to take more time and more training data over time to really see what that looks like and how it actually performs.
Do you think it's, does it make broad generalizations, or does it get granular, like what I'm going to eat today?
I think
that's not a good example.
I think no, but that's a good question though. I think that yes, like there are. I think that if it gets enough data and is learning off of you enough, like that's the thing that I'm worried about, is that it's going to know you better than you know yourself.
Well, that's why they're putting, cameras into the human AI pin and the Rabbit R1, which all seem to be getting nasty reviews.
Yeah, I
But as
canceled
soon
my
as you
order.
start doing video about
Yeah.
and again, it's a version 1 of the product. So I think people were expecting it to do thousands of things, and it can do like 8. And which is, whatever. That's why I said I want version 3 of this. Let it go. But back to this, when does it start getting creepy? It's fine to predict. Yeah, I'm going to go to work today, or I'm not going to go to work today. But because it should know. But when does it start getting?
Just a note on the human AI pin. They're looking to sell, so they're looking for a buyer. Just FYI. But so we called it. We called it on the pin, but the Rabbit R1 we'll have to see. But we digress. So you raise an excellent point here on the creepiness. So transparency is going to be key. So any use of predictive models on individuals, they should be fully disclosed and consented. So secretive use would raise privacy concerns. There may be cultural differences in sensitivity. So some societies may accept a high degree of behavioral prediction more readily than others. Applications are going to matter. So forecasts to improve healthcare, education, or well-being may feel less invasive than targeted marketing, for example. I kind of agree with that. Perfect prediction is based on what I've read is unlikely because human behavior is sufficiently complex that models will remain imperfect, but you never know. So we need ethical boundaries and limitations for modeling to respect personality.
So, all right. So now we have Canada. Let's just say Canada is, under control, being completely monitored by AI. The government's got this supercomputer in the sky. We all have watches and phones tracking everything we do, so that it can predict what we're going to do and I guess, help us, because apparently somehow predicting our behavior is good for us, which is a whole other discussion. Who needs to know what I'm going to do today besides me? Like, really? Come on. Like, what's that do to people? How far are we from, the Minority Report where it's pre-crime versus, wrong think or wrong do? Hey, wait a minute. 99% of people don't do what you're about to do. Whatever it is, like, it's work day on a Wednesday and you're going for a bike ride while everyone else is at work. This is a problem. I need to flag this. Like, are anybody who's become outliers and now are flagged and monitored by government services and stuff? What happens? When does this become like not just creepy, but really creepy?
I think. No, I honestly think we're getting to that point when it comes to precogs in the Minority Report. I know precogs were actual humans or mutants. I can't remember, but I give an AI enough training data, and I think we covered this. They were creating a replica of the brain in a chip. You take that, you incorporate this into that, and you give it enough training data, live data, constantly updating. It's definitely going to be able to right now, currently, no, absolutely not. Like, we're talking years away from that, but I think we're on that path. We're definitely on that path. That's scary shit. Pardon me for cussing.
It looks scary to me. Like, why? What is the point of predicting human behavior unless on a mass scale we're trying to predict migration patterns, economic patterns, people buying more of this and more of that, so that maybe we need to adjust farming, shipping, where we have products, that kind of thing on a macro level. But that's not really predicting where I'm going today. And we've seen
with the removal of cookies, maybe. Go ahead. Sorry.
We've seen, what happened with Google AI. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but we laughed at it when they first came out and had that huge fiasco. And I was fighting with it for a bit, getting it to help me with something. And it was just arguing me rather than actually giving me what I was looking for. now it's even worse. Have you seen the stuff that's come out? About
Yeah.
they use
Oh, it's
Reddit to
horrible.
mine this stuff. It's like, hey, what do you do if your cheese won't stick to your pizza? Oh, add a quarter cup of non-toxic glue. Women should smoke 2 to 3 cigarettes a day while pregnant. It's highly recommended by doctors. You should eat at least 1 stone every day for minerals. Like, the stuff it's telling you to do is crazy. You can work out 8 days a week. It's okay. It's actually good for you. Blah blah. You know, because this goes back to my previous comment. When does AI made up facts just become facts on the internet? Well, it's already happening. Google's got that add, and then generic response to whatever your question is. Hey, you might like some videos, and then maybe the search responses below. All the blogs and all the people relying on Google traffic are really suffering because Google's trying to take that into themselves, and they're producing this complete crap information that people are taking as fact. Like, you can tell, you shouldn't really eat a rock, or you shouldn't really eat glue, but what other stuff it's not getting so extremely wrong.
Yeah, and that's I think honestly, Google is they are trying to play catch up, and they're messing up left, right, and center. I think that this is their downfall. I don't know if you just saw the leak that was released on all the different parameters for their algorithm that just got leaked. Huge leak. This and the fact that their AI is crap. It can't get any better. It hasn't. Sorry, can't. But it hasn't gotten any better. It's gotten worse. They're and they're the ones that have the data, which, like, well, they should have the data because they're the ones who've been controlling the internet for the last I don't know how many years. So,
well, this becomes the problem. Like, you just throw a database at these AI, and none of it seems to be scrubbed for factual information. And
yeah,
what are facts these days? What a fact 6 months ago is not necessarily a fact today. Based on science changes, things change. Whatever changes. So this becomes it's ruining blogs. It's ruining Google. I think people are going to start moving away. Chrome is having everyone I talk to has had massive problems with Chrome. Its performance, its
yeah,
memory leaks, it's this using other stuff. So as soon as there's decent other options, people are gonna move away from Google. I think if
yeah,
OpenAI produced a search engine, Google would be done.
yeah. I agree. And Google is going to be done. I think they made a change to their to their um to their algorithm, and now crap's been broken. Like, Google's broken. Let's put it that way. So
Yeah, it is
sorry, Google,
broken.
but
I haven't looked at I want to take a look at that leak and see, but yeah, I haven't. It is broken. You can tell by all sorts of people. And you have to sit back and say, okay, if you want traffic to your site, what are you doing that is not a simple answer to a question?
yeah,
All right, answer to the question's not going to drive traffic to your site anymore because Google and everyone else is going to do that. Answer the question right at the top of the friggin' page.
yeah,
So things like what drives a little traffic are live events, right? You want to buy
yeah,
tickets, you want information about our live event that's next week, this week, that week. Okay, that's something, because
yeah,
that's going to change in a week. It's new, it's ever changing. So you have to start thinking about video content potentially and other things that are different, that are attracting people that aren't necessarily easily answerable by
yeah,
Google. So
yeah.
I don't
And
know.
apparently, this leak shows that they've been gaslighting SEO experts. So, not a good day for Google. Maybe it's time to short their stock, but we'll see. Not a any kind of stock advice at all. I'm not an expert, so
Yeah, but the advice I would give to anybody out there is to go take a look at what this leak in algorithm means. Take a look what SEO experts are saying now after analyzing it, and start hopping on it before your competition does. Because if used to be, and if you really wanted traffic, you need to focus on SEO, and people don't, because they don't know what it is, and it's complicated. You need backlinks, you need this, you need that, and there's so many scammers in the industry trying to sell you all sorts of crap that you may or may not need at $2,500 a month, and you don't see a difference. But you need traffic. You need traffic if you're selling something. So how are you getting that traffic? And as soon as Google starts screwing with the way that traffic is coming to you, businesses are closing because they're not getting any of the traffic anymore, and they can't sell their products because if you get 2% conversion rate on your product and you're not getting the 1,000 people coming to your site a day anymore, what happens? Or 10,000 or whatever the number is. So people are leaving. I see people, YouTubers leaving for Rumble and everything else because of what's going on with YouTube. And it has to be what they're promoting on YouTube, what they're doing from compensation, when they demonetize you, how they demonetize you, and the rules about what you can say and what you can't say. And, the other platforms don't have the same rules. So people are leaving. And Google, YouTube takes a chunk. Like they take like 30% or something of when I say that, like the revenue and whatnot. Yeah, and super chats and stuff. Like I don't know if you watch any of these YouTubers, but if you get a bunch of followers, people can donate money right there on YouTube, and they bring up super chats and stuff. $20-$50, whatever, and you bring them up like the bubbles we do here and talk to them. But Google takes a bunch of that, so it's all part of how these people monetize, and say, well, it is what it is. But when a lot of these people since January, their traffic and their revenue have dropped by 40% or more, they're really starting to hurt. Unless they've got other sources of income in now, and they're really starting to say, Google is screwing with these people, on top of what they're messing up with their AI and what they're messing up with their algorithms and everything else. Their reputation is going down and down, and they're starting to get ripe for takeover. It's funny. I talked to somebody the other day. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think the industry is ripe for change. Like I see Disney crumbling. And I talked to a business person. Well, Disney, be here forever, and maybe it will, but we thought Yahoo was going to be the biggest empire, and Time Warner, AOL, and all that stuff. They were huge, and what they become is a fraction of themselves. Is theaters, no one's going to the theater anymore. They need to really step up their game and change what they're producing to make movie events and make people want to go, because most people just say, I'll wait a month and watch it at home. So they have to change the model to get their revenue back. And the whole industry is suffering. And now we're pretty close to another strike. I don't know if you know that. We're close to another Hollywood strike. 6 days away.
I didn't know that. Funny you mentioned Yahoo. When it comes to Google, so this is interesting as far as timeline goes. So the head of something at Yahoo, who was not instrumental, but a part of the downfall of Yahoo, got hired at Google. And since then, Google has been going downhill. I can't remember his name. Yeah. So he's doing the same thing. He hasn't learned his lesson. And now it's messing with Google. But hey, obviously that's not the only root cause, but yeah.
Yeah, it takes more than one person to mess things up in a huge corporation.
Yeah.
So, do we really want AI's models predicting and monitoring our human behavior? Like, what models are we using to program it? And we don't question enough. Like, we've been programmed over the last few years. Like when we grew up, it was question everything was the mantra. In the last few years, it's question nothing, do as you're told. And so now you're throwing AI around us, and saying, oh, are we supposed to question AI, or are we supposed to do what it tells us to do?
Yeah, exactly. Scary.
Yeah. So when do when do you think this is? It's not a question of if. When do you think this will start being misused?
Well, if they put the right safeguards in place, then they'll make it much harder. If they'll have to have legal and financial deterrence in order for that to happen. But I think misuse is going to happen right away. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not happy about what's happening here. I think, in general, it's from a civilization at a high level. It's interesting to monitor, like I said, economic trends and where people are migrating to. More people are moving out west and this and that, and to figure out, what we should be planning for economically and as a nation and infrastructure wise and food wise. But as an individual, I question the value of this. Do we need a AI to predict where we're going today? Because we can't figure it out. Like, you don't know where you're going to go when you wake up. So it just seems.
Well, hey, maybe. Maybe we're that future where people just don't want to. They don't want to think for themselves.
Wall-E, where we don't know how to do anything. Yeah. All right. It sounds pretty bleak, and I just don't see why we're doing this unless it's for misuse. Like, I don't see a real good reason other than misuse.
It's for government.
Yeah.
It's for government. It's for tracking. It's the only thing.
So let's move on to this last one. And I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm going to take a guess.
I know.
Tauonium to replace hydrogen.
Yeah. So this one we're talking Futuretech, we're talking stuff, and I'm going to break this out. I don't even know. So typically, learning something new, I'll type in how to pronounce, and they don't even have a how to pronounce this. So I'm guessing it's Tauonium. But I'm going to break this out into three kind of topics. So I'm going to introduce Tauonium first. Tauonium is a hypothetical atom composed of a tau lepton and its antimatter counterpart. It could be the smallest and heaviest known pure electromagnetic atom. So its existence was first theorized decades ago, but Tauonium has never ever been detected. It has a radius of 1/1700th of a hydrogen atom. So the Tauonium atoms interact solely through electromagnetic forces between the oppositely charged tau and anti-tau. This atoms like so they've proposed a new detection method. So in recent theoretical works, they've tested a novel technique to identify Tauonium using particle accelerators. So by colliding electrons and positrons at high energies near the tau particle creation threshold, the subsequent particle decays can reveal a unique Tauonium signature. What they've calculated is that this proposed approach could provide the first experimental evidence of Tauonium at a 5 sigma certainty within a few years. So interesting. Now, what are these implications? So detecting Tauonium would enable testing quantum electrodynamics theories at unprecedented smaller scales. Again, we're talking your magic, right?
Yep.
It would also allow ultra precise measurement of the tau lepton mass at 1 keV of accuracy, which is 100 times better than current experiments. This would have major impacts on particle physics and standard model, including electroweak theory and questions around lepton universality. So essentially, what they're saying is that finding Tauonium provides a new portal into quantum foundations of matter, forces, and mass. And yeah, again, still theoretical. They have a detection method proposed. Still hasn't been detected. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff here. But again, never seen, never measured, never nothing.
Yeah, it said 5 sigma certainty, so that's 99.999, or is it 9999?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anyway,
99. I think it's 5. I think it's 5. I could be.
Yeah, that's I just can't remember. It's 5 nines after the decimal or 5 nines total. Anyway,
yeah, I can't remember.
I guess my point being is they're fairly certain that the significance of observing time will exceed. So they're fairly certain this exists, but they haven't figured out a way to detect it yet. So let's start at a different level. How exactly does Tauonium differ from normal atoms like hydrogen, and what makes it simpler?
So yeah, it's in a few key ways. So it contains a tau particle and an anti-tau particle rather than an electron and a proton like in hydrogen. So the tau and anti-tau, they have no substructure. So they behave like fundamental point particles. So in contrast, the proton in hydrogen is made up of, you're going to love this, quarks and gluons. And so tauonium only involves two truly structureless particles interacting. And so the between the of tau and anti-tau or tau negative. No nuclear force involvement, as in hydrogen, between the proton. So with just the electromagnetic interactions, tauonium is considered a simpler atom. And theoretical models treat the particles as perfect point charges with mass. So this is kind of the easiest system for analyzing the effects of quantum electrodynamics. So just to kind of summarize all that gobbledygook, the lack of complex structure and pure electromagnetic binding makes tau a simpler theoretical construct than even the simple hydrogen atom. And studying it can reveal deep insights into quantum mechanics unobscured by complex nuclear or structural effects, if that makes sense. I think I explained it a little bit more better there.
Okay, so let's just say tomorrow we discover this Tauonium. What kinds of new technologies, does it actually replace hydrogen at anything?
So there's a couple of things. So encryption, quantum cryptographic protocols could use tau particles to generate secure keys, which I find is pretty cool. There's medical applications. So tauonium's radioactivity could possibly be used to target tumors or provide unique radiopharmaceuticals. Miniature electronics, so devices like quantum computers may leverage tau particles or tauonium for compact circuitry and qubits. So this is the potential breakthrough that we could talk about that we were talking about. So ultra precise clocks. So again, we're always trying to get to super precise atomic clocks. So the high mass of tau particles means that the tauonium electron transition between energy levels at high frequencies, and we're talking petahertz range, could allow for very precise timekeeping. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. High energy chemistry, chemical reactions involving matter annihilation at the tauonium scale could unlock new energy pathways, which is really so. A lot of some way out there, and some things that are actually more practical, which is interesting.
Okay, so will this discovery open up new realms of chemistry or material science? Like, we haven't even discovered it yet. We don't even know how to mine it, get it from, like, it exists, but it exists as a parts of other atoms. Do we have to pull it out? Like, how does this work? We don't know yet,
so
obviously.
It could open up some new directions. Well, no, but yeah. So the thing is even though like tauonium's been theorized for many, many years, right? So there's obviously been some research done into it and different things like that. So there are exciting new directions in chemistry and material science that could open up. So one is exotic materials. So tauonium's small size may make it useful for designing materials with unique nanoscale structures. So materials containing antimatter could have applications from microelectronics to medicine. There's bioimaging and sensing. So if production can be scaled, tauonium size may make it an ideal nanoscale tag for sensing biomolecules within cells or tissues. There's obviously, we talked about particle chemistry, but could inspire new particle-based chemistry antimatter chemistry could reveal new energy pathways and compounds. High precision spectroscopy. So it could detect subtle quantum effects, allowing measurements of extreme precision. A whole bunch of things. It could open up so many different things, which is really cool because it seems like they're one step closer to being able to detect it. But again, who knows?
Yeah, this is really interesting in a number of ways. Obviously, if it can help us create energy, if it can help us get interesting quantum stuff, do quantum encryption at some levels, maybe even potentially be used in some of the quantum batteries we were talking about. Because if we can get to the particle and the antiparticle easily.
Exactly.
You have any last words on this Tauonium?
No. So just one thing, just to note that Tauonium is theoretically highly unstable, and it decays in trillionths of a second, which makes directly observing it extremely difficult. So just to put that into perspective, just wanted to add that. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, like we can't even guesstimate any timelines for this one. So
what do you got going on, John?
Nothing. I got this thing today. And then
Startup Drinks TO tonight.
Investor Startup Drinks TO. Because with you get food, you get drinks, and you can pitch. You can pitch yourself. You can pitch your idea. You can pitch your company, whatever. There's investors. There's people from all walks of life that come. It's a great event. I love it. That's pretty much all I have coming up in this little bit, which is great because I've been traveling to Toronto quite a bit recently. How about you?
Well, tonight, like you said, Startup Drinks TO. We got more fans in the room. We got a new portable AC unit. I'm hoping our step and repeat banners there. We have a chicken wing sponsor tonight, so we're gonna have chicken wings. So we got a lot of new stuff.
Yum.
And then June 20th is our collision after party. I want to make sure people come join that. And if you want to learn how to take your knowledge,
tickets early for that because get your tickets early for that because we were sold out last year. So
yeah, we will be sold out again. We're already at over 100 gone for the collision after party, and we're still over 3 weeks away. So we will sell out again. So get your tickets early. Make sure it'll be a great time. It's our biggest one of the year.
Yeah.
If you're a subject matter expert and want to figure out how to turn your knowledge into a course, book, or coaching program, go to startupcoach.ca, book a discovery call. I'll show you how I can help experts like you take the knowledge out of their head and turn it into a high ticket course, and you can start earning money. So give me a shout and we'll do that. I've got a few clients already lined up and it's working out really great. So it'd be nice to have a few more. Awesome. And John, you help companies get funding. So if people are, doing business stuff and they're looking for funding, usually it's companies doing tech work with developers or doing new stuff. What do they need to do?
Yeah, there's tons of funding if you're developing product, beverage, if you're in tech, if you're in agriculture, if you're in med tech, if you're looking to hire, there's something out there for everyone. If you're developing new tech, there's some great stuff like Shred. But yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, John Irwin, GONIRWIN.
And for everything else, just go to torontostarts.com. Everything's there. And thanks for everyone for watching. We will be uploading separate videos of that. I know the audio wasn't great. Hopefully we'll be getting separate audio. That'll work out better when we upload it. Thanks again, John, and I'll see you tonight.
Thank you. Yeah.